Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to From Pain to Purpose, Healing Pain Through the Arts presents our Cope to Hope check-in for our mental health in the Black community for our Black History Month celebration. This is the fourth week that we have been doing Mental Health Mondays, and we are so excited to be back here again this evening to bring you another amazing and informative broadcast. We have had some amazing guests. We started on Monday, February the 5th, with Tyler Almanor, aka Ty Smooth. And we had him talking, he was speaking to us about as a young African American, 25-year-old young man. He was speaking to us about being a young Black man in the entertainment industry as an artist and as a singer and all of that actor and all of that good stuff. So we dropped a video of our conversation with him. And then on Monday, February the 12th, we had a conversation with Kiranda Kiki Midnight, who is a well-known copywriter in the entertainment industry and acting industry. And she was speaking to us about being a Black single woman in regards to mental health. And then last week, February the 19th, we had an amazing man named Deacon Charles Platt Jr., who was our special guest, and he was speaking about being a Black man in ministry in regards to mental health. Now, you know, being a Black man in ministry and mental health is another level of being a Black man in the community. So that was an amazing discussion as well. And every week I have been saying, these are the conversations that we didn't know we needed because they have been so impactful, so informative, and they have had so much information from the perspective of our guests that have been with us to that they shared with us. So if you did not catch any of those live broadcasts or the video that dropped on February the 5th, please go back and it's on our YouTube channel From Pain to Purpose Incorporated. It is on all over my page, Dr. Amber Ann Lyons. They are in our Healing Pains Through the Arts group on Facebook. Listen, it's all over the place. It's on TikTok, on Queen of Smooches. Come on, somebody. We done got it everywhere. So, and people have shared it and information in regards to what we've been doing. It's in all kind of groups on Facebook. It's on Instagram on our From Pain to Purpose page. It's on, now the full episodes are not there, but you can get snippets there. And tonight, we are so blessed to have some amazing women with us to close out our Code to Hope check-in. So this is Dr. Amber Ann Lyons with your Code to Hope check-in. How are you doing? Because we always want to know, how are you doing? And we pray that you are doing well. Well, we're going to be speaking to these amazing women tonight in regards to mental health in the Black culture. Because, and why are we speaking about the Black culture? Because these women are Grandassa models. They are part of the pioneers who started the Black, who not started, but who continued the Black is Beautiful movement. So we're going to just read to you a little bit about who they are before we bring them on the screen to join us. All right, bring them into the studio. So if you're joining us, please the World Wide Web, that we will be able to have a successful show because we have several guests on with us tonight. So technology, work with us and work for us. Okay. Y'all be praying in the background that technology will be our friend tonight. So if you're joining, let us know where you're tuning in from and feel free to engage with our guests. Ask questions, your viewpoints in regards to what we're discussing, and we're going to just take it on from there. Okay. So the Grandassa Models. Who are they? Okay. In 1950, we're going to give you a synopsis of some of the information because it's a whole lot and we can't give it to you all. In 1956, a group of young artists and jazz lovers formed the Jazz Art Society, soon to be renamed the African Jazz Society and Studios, AJASS, and began producing jazz concerts featuring some of the great jazz, including Lou Donaldson, Jack McLean, Gigi Grace, Johnny Griffin, Cannonball Hatterley, Hank Mobley, Junior Cook, Art Taylor, Philly Joe Jones, Betty Carter, Leon Thomas, Wilbur Ware, and many, many others. And they coupled with their art exhibitions and African cultural presentations influenced by Carlos A. Cook and the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. An offshoot of Garvey's UNIA, AJASS began incorporating African nationalist themes into their productions. After witnessing the 1961 Miss Natural Standard of Beauty contest, hosted each year by each Garvey Day, August the 17th, in which girls competed without straightening their hair. AJASS organizers Elombe Braithwaite, that is my late father. Yes, I'm the daughter of Elombe Braithwaite. Kwame Braithwaite, that is my late uncle. So you see, this is history and legacy here. Robert Gumbs, Frank Adu, Chris at S. Amadisis Hall, and David K. Ward. Leroy Satch Giles, Jimmy Abu Williams, Ernest Baxter, and Gus Williams launched the Grandassa Models and the theme, Black is Beautiful. The original models were Clara Lewis, Black Rose, Numsa Braff, my late mom, who just passed away October 30th, Priscilla Bardenow, it looks like it's Bardenow, Mari Toussaint, Esther Davenport, Wanda Sims, and Beatrice Cranston. So we have a whole host of information in regards to the Grandassa Models. They were women that adorned their natural hair and they wore African attire in a time where Black women were not esteemed as models. We were outcast at that time as far as the model industry. We were not allowed to necessarily be models, but these women took to Harlem and brought a new infusion of Black is beautiful and let women know that you can adorn your natural hair and you can be proud of your African heritage. So without further ado, I'm going to play a video and a couple of videos, and then we're going to bring them to the screen, because once we bring them to the screen, we want to just keep going, okay?
Did you know the phrase Black is beautiful comes from a series of fashion shows from the 60s? Yep, meet the Grandassa Models. They were the original inspiration behind Black is Beautiful. In the 1960s, two brothers decided to have a fashion show in Harlem to showcase the beauty of everyday Black women. Models included seamstresses, designers, and activists, but none were professional models. Just like in the Deep South and elsewhere around America, Harlem was plagued with hatred towards Black people. But one group of young, pro-Black artists wanted to change that. Kwame Braithwaite and his brother, Elombe Braithwaite, co-founded the African Jazz Art Society and Studios, a group of young revolutionaries determined to restore racial pride. Together, they decided to produce a series of fashion shows with one message: Black is beautiful. The models in the shows were everyday black women, most of whom had darker skin, dressed in African-inspired designs, and rocked their natural, tightly coiled hair. They were called Grandassa Models, based on Grandassa land, which is another name for Africa. Beauty standards were extremely Eurocentric, and it was uncommon for black women at the time to be shown and celebrated without wigs or straightened hair. This show was a big deal because it proudly put black beauty on center stage. Black is Beautiful was written on flyers, posters, and handbills to promote the shows. But those 3 words ended up becoming so much more. The phrase affirmed to black people everywhere that we were beautiful just the way we were. AJASS and
So we're going to, at this time, bring on our Grandassa models. Welcome, 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 ladies. How are you tonight?
Thank you so much for having us.
Wonderful.
Thank you. We're
Oh
wonderful.
my goodness. I
Yes, we're
cannot
all here.
believe that we're all here together. This
Yes,
is
we are.
amazing.
Yes.
It's so exciting. I am going to ask you all to introduce yourselves. Just going from Brenda, Eunice, Ansakolo, Ajua, Fofie, Zena, and then Amye. So, ladies, take it away.
Good evening. I hope everybody's well. My name is Brenda Evans. I've been a Grandassa model since 1962, but I had a break. That's when I met them, and then I was with them for about 5 years, and then I had to leave. And now I returned, and I am really happy about that. The whole journey was amazing for me. Started as I was a little girl when I loved myself, and then I began to learn to hate myself, and that's when that journey began. And it was over about 18, 19, 20 years later when I was approached by Kwame and Elombe at the first show. I did go to the first show because of a model named Patricia Thomas. And she and I were going to the same high school. I was a senior, and I think she had just come in. And she told me about this group and what they were doing, and I couldn't wait. I'd snatched she had a flyer in her hand. I snatched a flyer out, and I had washed my hair a couple of times, and before seeing her, and I was supposed to be taking my graduation pictures, and my mother told me, "You're not taking your graduation pictures like that." So I said, "Mommy," and that was that. That's what you did in that house. There was no back talk or anything, sucking your teeth and all of that stuff. And the family didn't verbalize their concern. But I knew that they were concerned. And my friends and people that I didn't know, just walking down the street, would ask me if my hairdresser died. And I would tell them, "No, what happened to you? Why are you saying that to me?" So, and it was so much of a journey because I never really disliked myself until I was hearing, and this is from a small child, I was hearing about our features and how they were laughing at our features, at our hair, at our skin color. And I started disliking myself every time I saw a view of me, any kind of mirror or reflection. And I was so happy to have gone to the first natural show. And when Kwame and Elombe walked to the table that I was at, and both of them almost simultaneous said, "You're black and beautiful." I almost fainted because you didn't hear those words. Black and beautiful was not spoken when I was growing up. It was not spoken, and everybody thought I was clear out of my mind. And one person said something to me that really made me think about it. Was my hairdresser he asked me, "Why are you straightening your hair?" I didn't answer him. Because my mother told me to straighten my hair. I was in the kitchen one time. I was about 9, getting my hair straightened, and I asked. I said, "Mommy, why are we doing this to our hair?" And she says, "To clean up that kitchen and throw away the garbage." In my 9-year-old mind, it was garbage. And that's what I saw when I looked in the mirror. That's what I saw. That's what I was given, and that's what I was walking with until and I was walking with it, but I had doubts about it. I had doubts about it, and I wasn't far from. I mean, when I went to the Naturally show, that was it. That sold it for me. I just had to wait until I graduated so I can peacefully wear my hair in its natural state.
Welcome, Brenda. Thank you so much for introducing yourself to us and letting us know who you are.
You're very welcome.
Eunice, can you introduce yourself to the people,
Yes, I
please?
can. I'm Eunice Townsend, and I've been a Grandassa model, I believe, since 68, 69. And when I first joined the group, I thought my head was into the modeling, not into the cultural aspect of learning about my heritage. So that was quickly dismissed because Elombe was a real taskmaster and he was no jokes. He was very serious. I hardly ever saw Elombe laugh, but when you did, it was like such a treat. So he taught us many things other than the modeling. The modeling became secondary in terms of us meeting and listening to his lectures. He really opened up my mind towards myself, my blackness, and my culture. So I remember somewhere along the line, I traveled to Egypt uh, after his teachings. And when I went to Egypt, I really found myself. I came back, I maintained some hair, but when I came back, I cut off all my hair, sold all my European clothing. My daughter thought I had went crazy because she knew how much I love fashion. But I sold all my clothes and only wore African clothes for years. And I also stopped going to Christian churches, which was really amazing for me. I was looking for something, and I found it with the Grandassa Models. I found my blackness, I found my real culture, and I found my history. And I will always be indebted and grateful to the organization.
Awesome, beautiful. I love it. Next, Sacolo.
Oh, hi. And thank you so much, Amber, for inviting us. My name is Nicola Brathwaite. And Kwame and Elombe, I was shopping on 125th Street. I think I was maybe like 18 or 19. And they came over, and then Kwame gave me the card and told me he wanted to photograph me. But because they were like grown men, I was a little bit suspicious about them approaching me. So about 2 weeks later, I took a good friend with me up to the studio to see if it was legitimate. And when I walked into that space and saw those amazing 8 by 10 photos of those original models in that room, I was sold. In fact, when Kwame and I married a couple of years later, I literally had all of the models in the apartment. They were mounted on our walls. So anyone who came to our apartment would see all of the Grandassa models. It was so beautiful. I found out that they were really legitimate, but just seeing those images, seeing those photographs with the women with their natural hair, that was like life changing. And the other thing that happened with the Grandassa models, they were very much almost like sorority sisters and very, very supportive. And the one thing that they basically stressed, though, is that everybody was wearing clothes either that someone had designed and made or that they made themselves. And I like Eunice, I love fashion. So I used to have these European designer clothes, and there was one outfit that always got lots of compliment. So when I went to the first meeting, when they asked me to join, I wore the outfit and none of the ladies said anything. They were complimenting each other on these beautiful prints. And I was like shocked. So the idea was that I didn't make that. Some European designer made it. So what was I to be complimented on? So on my way home, I had to pass this pawn shop, and in the window was a sewing machine. I literally went in, bought the sewing machine, had never had the sewing lessons, took it home. Me and my two sisters, we were all in high school at the time. We plugged it in. We didn't even know how it even operated. I eventually learned how to sew. Carol Lee Prince, one of the designers, was really, really very helpful. She was like my mentor. She taught me how to cut, taught me how to buy threads, took me down to the garment district. And then I started making my own clothes, and so that
Wow.
credited to the Grandassa Models. And then we
Wow,
all
that is
went away for a
amazing.
we went away for a very long time. And then in 2018, with the prompting of Ademola Mandela for us to have a reunion, because we all went our separate lives, professionally and with our families. But we came together, the group of Grandassa Models, we all reconvened and we held a reunion in 2018. So we breathed new life into our legacy. And we're here now to make sure that we continue the legacy and there is no gap. And we have the next generation, and even a couple of generations behind them who have joined us in continuing to affirm that Black is beautiful and to embrace our legacy as Black women, as Black people.
Listen, embracing your legacy is a big deal, okay? Especially in today's
Absolutely.
time. So we want to make sure that everything that was laid before us continues.
Yes.
Welcome, Ajua. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for opening this forum for us
Yes.
to be a part of it. I'm Ajua, and I was starting back, I will take you back to 1959. I was in college. Yeah, that's a long way. I was in college, and I met this young man. His name was Prince Evans. I don't think he's related to Brenda, but I don't know now. He got around. And he encouraged me to he was from New York. I was in school in Baltimore, Maryland at Morgan University. And he encouraged me, he kept prompting me to enter this beauty contest of his organization called African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. And he wanted me to be in this beauty contest. Well, it was no big deal back then being in a beauty contest. The only problem was he wanted me to wear my hair natural. In other words, I couldn't straighten my hair. I couldn't wear a wig. I couldn't do anything. And I balked at it. I said, that's ridiculous. What kind of beauty contest is that? And he just said, don't worry about it. You just show up in a beautiful bathing suit and you wear your hair natural. And it was 1959. It was called the Miss Natural Standard of Beauty Contest. It was the first one. And I won. I wore my hair
Yeah.
natural. And I won. Of course, there were only two other entries, and they both had their hair straightened because they weren't prompted like I was. All right. But taking you back to 1959 also takes you back to a period when the word Black was almost a cuss word. It was
That's
almost
right.
the same
Right.
as using the N word. In fact, they interchanged both. All right. When they wanted to speak badly to you, they would put a Black, you Black such and such, you Black so and so. All right. It was
Mm.
never used in a positive, I guess, language or understood to be anything positive. White, on the other hand, was always understood to be very positive. If you were white or close to white, you were in a better situation in life. You could get a better job. You could get an education. You had so many things open to you if you had that whiteness attached to your name in some way. So when the boys, and I say the boys because Elombe and Kwame were boys, when they did this. They were quite young. When they came with the term Black is beautiful, they were putting together two things that weren't acceptable in our culture. For us to learn and start to understand that and grow with it and enhance that took years. I was part of when I first saw the Natural Standard of Beauty show, which was Grandassa Models. I think it was 1962 at the Purple Manor.
Yep.
I was floored. I was bowled over because all of a sudden, the hairstyle that I wore, coupled with the clothing that they had and the way they presented themselves, was beautiful. There was no doubt about it. They showed up on that stage. They were beautiful. So Black in your face at that time, all of a sudden you were presented Black is beautiful.
Yes.
It was not just a slogan. Here it is. It was true. And I wanted to be a part of that.
Yes.
And I became a part of that. I didn't stay long because the other thing that pulled me was dance. I am a dancer. I still dance. They all know that. And
Yes.
dance is in my blood. I can't get it out. It's a passion. I've tried several times to leave dance, and I always get pulled back. So I just gave that up. Back then, I just knew that's what I had to do. I wasn't in it for that long, but the short time that I was there was so profound in my life and made such a change in my life. The other thing was that my father was an artist. I have his art all over my place here. He did fine art, and he was a very detailed man. And he painted Black people. My aunt had one of the first art galleries on Convent Avenue. What was it called? The Afro Art Gallery. All right. And she showed artists like Esanisons, Valerie Maynard. Those are the few names that I remember.
Yeah.
Um, uh, different people. So I was always in it, but not in it totally. The Grandassa put me in it totally. Okay, that was, I had my feet in it. Now the Grandassa dipped the whole body. So I came out Black. All right. And here I am again, years later, still pushing and accepting and growing in this Blackness that eventually will be America. America doesn't understand it, but there's no other place for America to go but to be Black. That's my story. I don't want to take it.
Thank you so much for that introduction as to into your life and how you moved into becoming part of the Black is Beautiful movement as a Grandassa. And the fact that you said that even though you weren't in it that long, the time that you were there was so profound. It left an indelible mark on your life, and here you are back again. Listen, this is the story of our lives that we may we may leave, for a while, but we know how to come back home. So thank you for sharing. Let's hear from you, Fofier. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings and good evening, everyone. My name is
Good
Fofier
evening.
Bourgeois. I am a Grandassa legacy. My mother, Nana Bakine, was a Grandassa model in the early 70s. So I am blessed with that gift to carry that legacy forward. Um, the Grandassa legacy is something that has been the backdrop and the soundtrack to my life because all I know is Black is beautiful. I don't have the same story in terms of being surrounded by images and thoughts that being Black is not beautiful or wearing your natural hair is not beautiful. I've always worn my hair natural. I've always known that Black is beautiful because my mother passed that legacy down on to me of knowing that Black is beautiful. So my life has been enriched as a result of that. My home was covered in images of reflections of myself and my people and different iterations of Black is beautiful, natural hair, cornrows, beautiful faces, beautiful shaped eyes, paintings, pictures, sculptures, t-shirts, wall hangings, everything. My whole life is drenched in Black is beautiful. Because of that, it's given me the strength to work in the social work field and give that same love to the people within our community, because when you don't love yourself, you don't love anyone else. And
Yes.
that Black is Beautiful has given me such self-love and self-confidence that I exude love, because I know my history and I know my value and I know my beauty inside and out, because of the gift that Black is Beautiful has given me, because of not only my mother, but the two Baba Braithwaites that have taught us so much, and has just helped us to carry on that legacy. And it's quite a gift, because there's so many people in this world that don't have self-love, from just the basic small seed of loving your own reflection. So my name is Fofia, and I'm a Grandassa legacy.
Yes.
Welcome, Kofier. I love it. She says, my life was drenched with Black is Beautiful. I've known who I was as a Black woman since birth. So that is powerful. And working in the social work field, I am sure that you have tapped into mental health and how you have to help people to understand who they are, and to be able to being able to love yourself has a lot to do with your mental health. But we're gonna push it on, and we're gonna welcome Sister Zena to the stage. Come on, Sister Zena, tell us a little bit about who you are. Up, she disappeared. So we're going to move on with Nana Ama. So we'll circle back to Zena. Welcome, Nana Ama.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Amber Lyons, for allowing us to tell our story. It's very important that our family knows who we are.
Yes.
My name is Nana Ama Tanks. I am a child they call of the 60s. At the time that in the 60s, we were learning about ourselves as people in terms of our Blackness. We were in schools asking and petitioning and demonstrating to have education, Black education, African history told in our schools. And it looks like we're doing the same thing again. We're back to repeating this.
Mhm.
But my background is very much like Fofier's. I come from a family that knew that they were Black, they knew that they were African. My mother and father were Garveyites. My father, as a matter of fact, was from the same parish as Marcus Garvey.
Mm.
I went to school with the first Black private school in Harlem, Mildred Johnson's, called the Modern School.
Mm-hmm.
And the Modern School only excelled. That was their mission. Black is not only beautiful, but it's excellent in everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my background. Also, the Modern School, Mildred Johnson, was the niece of James Weldon Johnson, the one who wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just no question about me being beautiful or being comfortable in my skin. It That was always the case. In 1960, my mother took me to Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and I was there for Nigeria's first independence celebration in October 1st, 1960. Um, I had met Nkrumah's Kwame Nkrumah, the president of Ghana, his educational minister, who used to come and tuck me in bed when I was in Ghana. So, it just, one thing just led to another. So, in terms of Elombe Brath and Kwame Brath, I really don't know how I found myself there. It was just the next phase because most of my family were members also of the AMPM.
Mm.
So they, I was just there. So when I was asked to be a Grandassa model, I said certainly. Wearing my hair natural was nothing new for me. Uh, it it was just the next step, as I said before.
Yes.
I was in, I believe, a couple of the fashion shows, and the thing that really got me during those days, anybody that you saw on television, they never used to show you. Most of the actresses were white, and they never showed you their back, and if they did, they were very flat. So when I went as a model in the naturally 60, I think it was 1970 show, and I saw all these women backstage, and everybody had hips, and everybody was just happy with it, and I felt like a real scrawny kid there, and they were just flaunting it. But really, they were happy times. They were happy times. And it was a wonderful thing to see people grow as a result of what we had to go through. Um, from the 70s, from the 60s on, I became a flight attendant. I was one of the first Black flight attendants with American Airlines to wear my hair natural. Got a flack from not only the white flight attendants and supervisors, but Black folks too. It's amazing. But I took that fro, as they called it, around the world.
Yes.
It influenced a lot of people in other places who were still using the European standard of beauty. And so that was my influence, and that's how uh, Elombe and Kwame impacted and helped me.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
What a story. I tell you, you women, you ladies have some amazing stories. And we're going to continue on with Anya. I know you're not on camera, but can you speak? Oh, she disappeared. Zena, welcome back.
I'm back.
Yay.
Good evening,
Welcome back,
everybody.
Zena.
Thank
Tell our audience who you
thank
are. Tell us,
you.
share them. Who is Zena?
Well, first, thank you, Dr. Amber Ann, for having us talking about this important topic. My name is Zena Robinson Waju, and I am the daughter of Frank Adu, who was one of the original members of AJASS,
Yes.
director of AJASS Repertory Theater. And I just want to share connecting what I heard the Fofi is that for me as a mom just represent the reason why I didn't have to, I was with my hair, being able to wear my hair natural for my whole life. I didn't know anything else, and it's because of the Grandassa Models, the role that they played, that made it easier for me to just myself and love and to and my upbringing home. Knew that black was black, but also that I nations in the form of, you know, um, in addition to my own household, because sometimes we all go through periods where your household you go away when you have a character and mantra. It just me, kind of and that's as move us into this next period of time of sharing Black history is just I just feel really blessed to just be with everyone each week and look at um, look at how Black is full as an expression is not just history. You know, look at us in the present and looking especially at us, our beauty as women intergenerationally. That's really important for me. So I'm just happy to share in the next generation and legacy of the Grandassa Models and the Black is Beautiful movement.
Yes,
Yes.
listen, it is amazing to be able to be a part of this legacy with the next generation, and to be able to walk in the path that has been set before us by you amazing Grandassa models and those who have gone on and transitioned already before us who are part of the original, which we named. We want to be able to share some of the comments that have come in. Linda Platt said, "Good evening to everyone." And the Elombe Breath Foundation is saying, "Cletus Smith, don't forget him."
Mm-hmm.
And also, this can be a classic recording because it has five Grandassa models on it all at once. Um, don't forget the next generation there. And he says, "I hope that you are saving this video." Yes, we are saving it. But listen, we I don't think Amye made it back. But
And
our goal, yes.
let me just share this. And Zinga, who is the daughter of Jean Gumbs, one of the original models, and her uncle is Bob Gumbs, one of the original AJASS founders. She actually just texted me. She thought it was 8:30, so she should be coming on. So
Okay.
want you to know that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue with the whole thing that we've been doing for Black History Month is speaking about mental health in the Black community. And as we opened up the show, we spoke about the different people that we've had on as guests.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight is all about mental health in the Black culture because
Yes.
AJASS and the Grandassa Models were part of Black culture, the Black is Beautiful movement. And being the pioneers of it, I some of the things that you ladies talked about when Ajua talked about the racism and things of that nature. And I was watching a video of her being interviewed at her church, talking
Mm-hmm.
about the first time that she encountered racism, head on racism, wanting to get some ice cream and it being given to her in a box. And she was like, "Well, I don't want it in a box. I want to eat my ice cream here." It's like, "Well, we can't serve you." So, can you imagine that being in a situation where just kick you right off. Just kick you right off. But you know what? We're gonna keep going. It's a lot of us on here,
Okay.
and
Okay.
technology is trying to act up. Thank you, ladies, for not going anywhere. But I was saying, we could you imagine living in a time where you are becoming a part of this whole movement? Everybody didn't have the home that Ophier had and that Zena had, where they grew up and knowing about Black is Beautiful. I mean, I knew about it from my father, but at the same time, and my mom, but at the same time, everybody didn't grow up in a home like that, where they were told that you're beautiful, that you're an African princess, and that you have your color is not a shame, your skin is not your sin. Growing up in a time where when you ladies enter into being part of the Grandassa and being part of AJASS, that in and of itself can be a big issue when it comes to mental health. and even the things where Brenda was talking about straightening up our hair, those kind of things, like, why are we straightening our hair? Those kind of things, people may not realize it, but those kind of situations can put people in a mental state where you're not really confident in who you are. And for it was talking about being able to love yourself. So before we talk a little bit more about that, I want to share a few statistics in regards to being in the model industry when it comes to mental health. Studies in the past decade have shown that models run a higher risk of developing psychological disorders, and report lower life satisfaction compared to other occupations. The Model Alliance reports that 68% of models surveyed suffer from anorexia, depression, or a combination of both. The fashion industry and mental health can have such destructive behaviors that may involve eating, intentional purging after eating, taking laxatives, among other things. These actions often become implicitly promoted in the modeling industry, especially in the Western culture where beauty standards is about being as thin as possible. So can you imagine, and even looking at today's time in the models and the entertainment industry, you can see these things still happening today. So coming from a movement that promotes Black is beautiful, how important is it for you to speak into the lives? If it's a young person watching now who is becoming a model or in the industry, how important is it for you to speak into them about how beautiful they are and how that can, you want to be able to have their mental health intact so that they are not caught up with these issues that affect the model industry today? Who would like to address that?
I'd say you are who you are. You show up as who you are. And when you enter into an industry that expects you to be something other than who you are, uh, that industry you speak of, the modeling industry, expects the women to almost resemble little adolescent boys. It's the same in the
Mm,
dance world. The dance world, especially ballet, you must be as tiny as possible. You can't hardly show any breasts. Some of the ballerinas strap their breasts down because they can't show cleavage or any of the things that are characteristic of women. So that when something is repressing that natural instinct in you, yes, there is going to be a reaction. There's going to be a spill someplace, a spillover, because you can't hold that. You can't hold that place. So there will be a psychological breakdown as a
mm,
result of you trying to be what you are not. It is the same as Black is Beautiful. When we were trying to please other people and wear our hair and I'll wear girdles to keep our behinds from showing, we were showing up not as who we are. We were showing up as somebody else's image. Someone
mm,
wanted us to be something else. And we had a lot of problems in our community. We still have a lot of problems in our community because a lot of us are still trying to show up blonde. Maybe you got my complexion, platinum blonde. I'm not blonde, believe me. I'm red. Okay. But we're showing up as hair straight. You know, Black Rose said something to me and I don't forget it. She said, and she was one of the original Grandassa Models.
Yes.
She said, "We are the only ones on the planet, Black people, that grow the curly, kinky hair. Every other ethnic group grows straight, very straight, extremely flaxen hair. We are the only ones that grow this kinky, curly hair. And for us not to embrace that, for us to try and be something else, there's going to
mhm.
be breakdown. We're trying to show up as something other than who we really are instead of embracing what the natural thing that God has given us. That kinky, curly hair is a blessing. We're
Yes.
still not holding it as that. We're
Yes.
still running away from who we are. And as long as you run away from who you are, you're always going to have spill. I call it spillage. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
You
Well,
know, it's interesting that you even brought that up because that what you talk about, the psychology, made me. I don't really know what it is to hate, but I didn't like God. I had no use for God because to me, God had no use for me, making me the way I was taught, making me like He made me to put me in this situation. I'm talking about from a little girl going to church with a mother and father and growing up. Well, if He is so, because I'm getting this reaction because of my color, because of my hair. Um, I'm getting all of this negative reaction, and yet He's supposed to be such a good person. Why did He put me in this situation? So he and I even have a problem accepting that it's just He. And I have the problem because it was never explained to me who His mother is. And I just had to bring that up because it's so impactful what you said. Very impactful. I know it
Yes.
impacted me until
Yeah.
now.
Psychologically, it can rip you up.
That's right.
It can rip you up. And
Yeah.
especially when you're in the presence of other people whose cultures and everything is intact. In other words, they can trace their little histories back to European or whatever, and we could only go far back as a slave ship. Some of us have gone further back and gotten our DNA, and DNA says, "Oh, you're part of Mali, or you were part of
Yes.
this group or that." But those lines weren't really there years ago. Those are fictitious to me. The lines that demark uh, African countries are fake. They were set
Okay.
up by the colonialists so that
Mm-hmm.
they could
Yeah.
divide the place and get their little portion and not trample on each other. So if you go
I
back,
want
you might belong to the sub-Sahara group. You might belong to the Iwe. You might belong to the Akan. You might belong to the Yoruba.
See,
But you
and
don't
as
belong.
you
You can't belong to a Mali. You can't belong to Ghana or the Gold Coast. You can't belong to Togo. Those are fake places.
yeah, it's fake and it's made up. All of that is made up because the way I feel and the way I see it and the way I've learned to agree with, the fact is that we weren't split up like that when we was originally here.
Okay, so
Yes.
we want to get back to what we are our topic of mental health, but I want to just address in Brenda in regards to the issue of God.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Everyone who is on this earth is not of God. We may be all God's creations, but we're not all His children. If we have not accepted God in our lives, then we are not His. We are born of, we are His creation, yes, but in a world that we live in, there is so much going on that people are doing that's evil and that is not right, that can affect our mental health. And that is the reason why we have been doing these programs about our whole
Mm.
program on Hope to Hope is built
Yes.
on youth and young adults' mental health matters too, because we begin to see the cry and the need for a mental health program for our
Mm-hmm.
youth and young adults because they're becoming depressed, dealing with anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
feeling hopeless, feeling like no one loves them, feeling like, and dealing with unhealed trauma from their own parents who don't know how
Yes.
to parent them. So they're putting their unhealed trauma on their children and not communicating with them properly. The word
Mhm.
cope is means It means check in. It means check in creates communication. We have to check in with them and be able to have a dialogue. And especially in today's time, we have to be able to have that conversation with them to know that we not just how was your day, but go deeper and be able to find out if how was your day and what happened today, and not just be surface with, but we got to go deeper. All of this taps into the mental health because they're getting depressed. They're feeling like they're being bullied in school, and there's so many issues. If they're a young adult in the workplace, there's so many things. People's identities is being stripped from them. Like we said, everybody didn't grow up in a home where it was embedded in who they are. The O in COPE is observation. Observation creates opportunities. If we observe what's going on around us and observe our own children, we will see the changes in their behavior and begin to see how they're not who they, like Audra said, you are who you are. They're not who you know their child is. They might have been the life of the party or dressed real nice, and all of a sudden they start to dress with all black or become isolated, become depressed, not want to talk, failing in school. We have to observe these things and open up the opportunities to be able to provide for provide preparation, provides our provision provides preparation. So if we see these things and begin to see that we as the adults have an answer, that we can help these young people and help our next generation, our legacy that's coming behind us, to be able to listen. We don't want them to be a statistic. We don't want our young people shooting up the schools because they're so depressed, because somebody picked on them and nobody addressed it, or somebody is failing the test and they're committing suicide. We work with a family of a young girl, my organization, that was 9 years old and committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
How does a 9-year-old to commit suicide? How? How? Because these are
the same way a 9-year-old will have a baby. The same way.
Dr. Please
so
let Nzinga in.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. And what is the E?
I see Zena, but I don't see Nzinga.
And Zinga in the waiting room.
And Zinga hasn't come back in yet. Zena keeps.
You know,
what's the E, Dr. Lyons? Before you sign off, what's the E in COPE?
The E is eagerness elevates everyone. Because what we do with mental health, when we see issues, we turn a blind eye. We sweep it under the rug because of the stigma in the Black community. Because somebody's going to think we're crazy, or somebody's going to think we have a mental illness. Having mental health issues is not the same thing as a diagnosed mental illness. We have all had to deal with mental anguish and mental challenges with this COVID world that we lived in, and post-COVID, and people being isolated and inflation. People can't even afford to buy groceries. That is a mental challenge, a mental anguish. It doesn't mean you're bipolar. It doesn't mean that you are schizophrenic. So you know what I'm saying? So we have to be able to be eager, be able to know that when we have green flags in mental health, that means don't turn a blind eye. Don't put the blinders on. We're not using red flags. We're using green flags. We need to be eager to rush in and be able to help provide resources. And that's what we're doing here. And the conversation with the Grandassa Models, I thought was so befitting to close out this month, because you all came from a movement that gave upliftment to our Black people and our Black community.
And
that infused our lives with "you're beautiful." That's a self-esteem booster, is it not?
That's right. Absolutely.
I think one of the things that's very important about what you're saying is, yes, we came from that background. One of the things that we came from was the support of the men.
Yes.
Wow.
And that is important. That is important. I think it was Malcolm X said that Black women are the most disrespected and most unprotected women in the world. Okay, so we have to get back together.
That didn't just happen. That's been since we were uploaded on those
family. The onus is not just on the women. It's on the
That's right.
family. It's
Yes.
That's
on
right.
Black men. How do they gain the respect? How do they learn to respect
Mm-hmm.
us once again?
Has
Just
historically run from the
how do they
family.
protect us? I've been around the world. I see women of other cultures. They're very comfortable. They feel that they
Yes.
know their man has their back. They get
Mm-hmm.
to be beautiful because they're comfortable. We are
Mm-hmm.
always watching. We're going to other countries trying to find a way, trying to be comfortable. Uh, Five sisters, most recently, have
Yes.
lost their life in the Gambia,
Gambia.
the diaspora. You
Yeah.
know, they were there on their own,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find love, trying to
Mhm.
live,
Mm-hmm.
but we're
Mm-hmm.
not protected.
Yeah.
We're not protected by our men.
So how does that make you feel? Is how would that make a woman feel mentally? I look at on social media and it is amazing. I mean, the women are crying out for love, Nana Ama. They're
Mm-hmm.
crying out on social media to be
Mm-hmm.
protected, to have a man to protect them. And this is all part of why depression affects the lives of so many in the Black community. Because, and then check this out, we are the community that has the least resources when it comes to mental health professionals.
Yes.
There is a 25% disparity from the Black community to the white community, where we have 25% less of access to mental health professionals, therapists. And I would say that the millennial and younger generations are more open to going to a therapist and seeing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing wrong with talking to somebody when you know that what you're dealing with is greater than you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you cannot handle it on your own, and there's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean that, like I said, you have a mental illness, and that's been a part of the Black community's issue. We don't go to therapists.
Yeah.
What goes on in the house stays in the house. We don't have to tell nobody. Well, all of them hidden secrets and all of that stuff, and not that you have to put it all on social media, but we need to
Right.
get some deliverance and some healing.
Yes. Yeah.
We need to get some deliverance and some healing. And the Black is Beautiful movement, I look at the work and I watch and I see and see how that in of itself can help our younger generation to understand your body image is a part of the modeling industry. And as Grandassa models, you are not out there showing all your skin
Yeah.
That's right.
like
That's right.
today.
That's right.
I mean, they're practically naked today in the
Mm-hmm.
in the industry. I mean, the red carpet is like, can you just don't wear no clothes? Because that's how they're showing up. But that's a mentality. So
Yes.
we need the
Yes.
love from our Grandassa models to be
Mm-hmm.
poured into this next generation, to be able to let them know you don't have to reveal all to the world. You
Women
don't
are
have
more
to.
than their body. Women are much,
Yes.
much more than their body
Yes.
parts.
Yes.
And
Much, much
the,
more.
the
We are
whole
spiritual beings and we don't pull on that. All right.
And
We bring forth life. In order for you to get birthed on this planet, you got to come through a woman.
You're
yes.
And
right.
that we're not taking credit for. We're not taking credit for that.
That's right.
Yep. We have been maligned and unprotected since they dragged us out of that place called Africa. Okay. We have been unprotected on those ships and it has not stopped. All right. So that when they sexualize women, I was in a workshop this weekend and they were talking about how do we get more romance movies into the system that talks about black love. Well, black love is a hard thing to develop and to find because it has so many facets to it. The man that can't support the woman, the man that runs away from the children, the man that is there, but it's a white woman that he's taking care of, and not the regular black family that we would like to see. There's so much that went on with the man during slavery. We are still suffering from the trauma. We
PTSD.
Trauma.
haven't been out. We haven't been out of slavery for what 100 years. We've been out of it 100 years yet. 1865, 19,
It's still
maybe
going.
100 years, maybe 200 years. We haven't been out of it 200 years. 200 years is a speck in time. so that they're
Second,
still suffering and we're still suffering.
As
How
a
to pull
people.
them together?
As a people.
I I can't give you a answer in a bottle so that you can shake it up and smear it all over everybody and they'll be well. There's no answer to the breakdown of human behavior, human development. There's no one answer. It's got to be over a period of time. It's got to gradually come back together. It will come. I
yes,
believe it will come back together. But I believe it's going to
yes,
come back together through our philosophy of who we are as a people in America and as well
yes,
as our spirituality. And it will be the
yes.
woman that will bring the spirituality back. All right. This
Listen, it
physical
already is. Look at the
sexuality,
church; it's full of women.
Yeah.
showing, yeah, showing the woman is showing a woman's leg, showing a woman's breast, showing a woman's backside. Okay. You never see a man's body parts anywhere. You never see his arm or his leg being shown. You never see that. So they have a problem with sexuality, period. The bigger culture, and I'm meaning the white culture. They have a problem with it. And that problem has loft and morphosed itself into our culture. They had a problem with it
Yes.
with us, with the on the ship. And now they still
Excuse
have a
me.
problem with us. And we
And
have the
Zanga is
same
still
problem.
waiting. And
I don't
Zanga is
see
still
her.
waiting. Sorry.
You know,
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'd like to add something, Ajua. Remember
Yeah.
the film that you recommended and it's on Amazon Prime?
Where is
I
she
think we
at?
should the psychologist Dr. Jillian Scott, her film Back to Natural, where she deals with the trauma that we experience as a people because of our skin, our hair, and the politics around what's happening, exactly what we're discussing. I'd like to just recommend that the viewers take a look at that film. You initially told us about it, and we collaborated with her and did a healing workshop where she is she has a PhD and she is a psychologist. She did a healing workshop and we'll be scheduling another one with her where she helps us to deal with not just the trauma of everything that we're seeing on TV and all the issues economically and all the things that we deal with, but also specifically us that we're maligned because of the way the hair grows out of our hair and head and also because of our skin color and our physiognomy. So I would just like to recommend it is on Amazon Prime and I think everyone should see it.
Say the name of it again, please.
It's called Back to Natural by Dr.
Okay.
Jillian Scott Ward.
Okay. So that's something that we can all uh, put in our lineup to watch
Mm-hmm.
and to become, get more information. I want to read this comment. It says, it's powerful to hear the contrast between the Grandassa model's environment and the environment that the next generation grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Proof that Ann Tripp was right in an assessment of what this birthed.
Mm.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for your engagement, Elombe and Braithwaite Foundation.
I would like to hear from the next generation because we grew up in a different time. You can't expect an oppressor to big you up. To I mean, you have to have your own thing, okay? And the next generation, that's what they're working on. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have your own thing and you work with that. We're talking about tangibles.
Yes.
So I would like to hear from the next generation how they think this problem can be solved.
Yes, and to give a add to that, give some type of a word of hope to our next generation, our young ladies that we see within the modeling industry, within the entertainment industry, of how they too can know that their black is beautiful.
Well, also, a lot of them
Cena,
have their own businesses, so
Cena, you want to tap in?
I can. One thing that stood out to me this past weekend, we had the opportunity to be at the jazz and fashion um,
event.
celebration event, in Harlem, featuring, you know, the fashion of Brenda Brunson Bay and jazz music from Craig Harris. And what I what I felt in that space is something I know it, but it helped me to articulate it. Is I don't know if you all understand, you know, when we're saying, when we're giving homage to you, it's not like, it's not ego boost. It's real. And what you just said, Nana Ama, is that what I recognize is that our culture transmit through experience. We don't transmit culture through only here it is, take it, look at it, go do it. We have to be in it. And that day we were in it, it showed me a lot of different things. One, Nana Ama, what you were saying about the man, the male and the female, the man and the woman. It's one thing I saw growing up is that I did see that when the young, and they were very young men, right? They were teenagers, started AJASS, they knew something was missing.
Yes.
They could have just kept going and had their wives and just said, oh, look at my beautiful wife with her natural hair, right? But they knew something was missing. And then when that naturally component was added in with the Grandassa models, that was the model. And when people just came to be in the experience of the shows, that was the transmission. And I think that's what we don't have right now. What we do have is, like, you know, maybe like you said, we have the business side and understanding ownership, understanding, like, you know, sometimes I believe that you all were creating and you were moving so rapidly and just giving, but creating a way that thing gives back to you. That's a thing that now I think our generation is learning. Like, how can that thing now that you created, it should be sustaining you right now. No one should have to want for anything, for everything that you've given, everything you poured in. It should be pouring back into you now. That's one thing I would say for this next level, is that we create all the time. It's our nature. It's a part of our culture to be creative, and especially as women, we're creators. But the things we create are supposed to then sustain us later. We should be able to rest, and the things should be sustaining us.
I totally agree. I'm sorry, go ahead, Zena.
But I do think that the thing that we need to see more, what I saw growing up, but I don't see as much anymore, is it's like a mutual inspiration between not just men and women, children and adults, because everything I learned, I didn't go to business school. I do operate a business, but I didn't go to business school. I learned business sitting in meetings with my parents while they were running things. They were organizing things. They were running, and I couldn't be somewhere else. I mean, you know, as a kid, that wasn't always fun that I couldn't be somewhere else. But because I was there, I learned. Like, I couldn't be somewhere in a meeting and not take notes. You don't have to be called a secretary to do that. I couldn't be somewhere and not, they're talking and I'm not listening. They say, so what do you think about that? And I was zoned out. I had to have something to say. So everything I learned about what I'm doing now, I learned inside of the culture of being, like, you know, in a meeting. We're planning how to have a classroom in our house. We planning how to, you know, build the African Independence School. We planning how to have the next show. I had to be present. And the presence is what I'm saying. Like, I do think that our generation can take the learning of being present. You can't, like, come home later and ask what happened. You're not going to get it. But
Another thing, Zena, is to support.
yes.
We have to learn how to support one another.
Yes.
And that is something that is very lacking. When you talk about and mentorship, you know, that is something that this generation has to understand someone has to mentor you. Someone has to pour into you. And we have a lot of very creative minded um, young people, and they're doing their own thing. They're out there, they're getting the bag, but there is something that's lacking because the support system is not there. And another thing, the generational divide between the elder generation and the younger generation has to be closed. The village has to rise back up again. And that's part of what my organization works with, as well as trying to build that generational divide back up and raising back up the village. But the village is the older generation understanding that they can learn from the younger generation, and the younger generation understanding that the older generation has the wisdom that they need to pour. Okay, so you're creative, you got all this talent, but you was lacking wisdom. You're lacking how to even support one another. When you hear about the Grandassa models, you're talking about teaching one another how to sew, and coming together in a space where there's so much upliftment and encouragement. And a lot of times that is missing today. So that helps to share love. Sophia talked about love, that she knows that she is loved, she came from love. I too, I mean, that's part of my mantra is to lead with love, because so many people, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And to know how much someone cares is to support and to rally around and to be a part of what is going on. The whole mental health discussion, and when you talk about youth work, is our Black community is apathetic towards it. We do not support. We don't support the people that's doing it. And it's very, very, very sad. How can we look on the TV and be upset that someone shot up a kid who got angry, shot up a school, but we don't do anything to help support anything? No, you may not rally the cause, but support the people that's doing it. So I truly appreciate the Grandassa Models coming on tonight, talking about body image and how this Black is Beautiful movement was so much part of esteeming us as a Black people, and understanding even in the entertainment and the modeling industry today that there is a need for a Grandassa model, because you can pour what you have into the next generation. We, as the next generation, are pouring into those that are coming behind us. So I know it's time for us to get ready to close out our show, our broadcast. I never, Zinga, I didn't see her come on. She never made it to the green room, so I wasn't able to bring her to the screen. But I want to ask if there's, we want to say that uh, please follow the Grandassa Models on Instagram. Connect with us. Auntie, yeah, you want to say something? Hold on, let me. It was a clicking, so I went around and was muting mics so that that clicking would disappear. Go ahead. I was muting mics while
Okay.
Zena was talking.
Okay. So here it is. The Grandassa Models, we have a website, grandassamodels.org. We have the Instagram, the original Grandassa Models. On AJASS 1956, there are many postings about the Grandassa Models. Kwame B. Photo. We also, you can Google us, and there's a lot more information, because this was a lot for someone to absorb in an hour and a half. And then there's the film, also Luis Dente's film about AJASS. And watch for the Grandassa documentary that we've been working on for a few years, and it should be coming out within the next year. And thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Listen,
you. Good night.
connect with the Grandassa Models.
It's quite
Thank you,
enjoyable.
Thank
Yes.
you so much for
Bye.
having us,
Wait,
Thank
don't
you.
go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Just hold on. Let me close the show down.
Okay.
This is not Zoom. Let me close the
Okay.
show down. Hold on a second. I'm going to take everybody out of the screens, and we're going to close the show down. But stay there for a second for me, please, because I need to be able to just say something to you. I need to be on screen. Hello, I need to be on screen. I took myself out. We're closing down our broadcast tonight. Thank you, everyone that joined. Thank you to the Grandassa Models that were here tonight. Those that were trying to get on and weren't able to. I'm so sorry that there was some technical difficulties, but listen, it was an amazing broadcast. Thank you for all of the information that you shared. Please connect with the Grandassa Models. Thank you to those that were online on Facebook and on YouTube that were engaging with us. Share this broadcast out and let people see, what we have going on, what we talked about tonight. We've touched a very important topic, and I'm so glad to have had such legendary women of legacy here tonight to be able to share a part of the Black is Beautiful movement, not just from past in the 60s, but what's happening today. So this is Dr. Amber Ann Lyons, CEO, founder, and visionary of From Pain to Purpose Incorporated. And this has been Healing Pain Through the Arts, brings you Cope to Hope check-in, mental health in the Black community during Black History Month with our special guest, the Grandassa Models. Thank you. And we're going to